Hello, beautiful people. Thanks for tuning in for a conscious life hack today, talking about it's okay to not be okay. What that means in the ascension process can mean a few different things depending on where you are. And I want to give you today three ways that you can work through it. One's the easiest way, one's the hardest way, and one is the fastest way. Let's dive in. So, beautiful people, in this world of positive vibes only, choose to be happy. Sometimes we feel kind of shameful around not being okay. And I say we as just a collective of people I've heard through different social media avenues and my email list and, people I've worked with. Um, Personally, the way I see things is that positivity and choose happiness all have a place even when we're not feeling okay. So it doesn't mean you're not allowed to not feel okay. So, one is even in those realms of choose happy, positive vibes, you have permission to have a bad day, to feel off, to not be okay, to spiral down into depression. So, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything if you are on your path, awakening and ascending and expanding consciousness. It doesn't mean anything if you're having a bad day, a bad few days, a bad month. It's okay. So, thanks for tuning in. My name's Rebecca Abraxas, and we're remembering our greatness together here. So, this ascension awakening journey can be a trip. It can be challenging because what we're doing is we are expanding our consciousness and expanding our consciousness past uh, the way the collective consciousness is seeing things and doing things. So, here we are being on the planet, but not of the planet, and it can be challenging. uh, we can start to really do, and build things in our lives. But as we gain perspective, we start having this broader perspective, and the ego of ourselves doesn't really know how to play with this. It keeps you on task to participate in 3D world and participate in like the caring about certain things, and as we expand and raise our vibration into ascension energies, um, we have a lot of ego deaths. So we start seeing things from a broader perspective than the ego. And so there's all these habit bodies that go on around, oh, do it this way. Oh, wait, that's egoic. Oh, we're doing it from the broader perspective. We're in this flow mode. And then it it gets a little disjointed. And when we get a little disjointed, that's when we spiral down a bit. And I know for me, that's when I start to feel down. That's when I start to feel like, what am I doing here? I start to feel just not inspired to do anything. Eating isn't that fun. Like all worldly bodily things are just not fun and not interesting. And I just feel like, eh. So, does anyone ever feel like that? Let me hear in the comments. I'd love to know that I'm not alone. But and if you hear it in the comments, you'll know that you're not alone either. Feeling kind of apathetic to the physical world is most likely you expanding your consciousness. Also, it could be getting triggered into an old habit or old programming that now is starting to say, oh, this is what's up. So your subconscious is being revealed for you to take a bigger look. Okay. So, whatever it is, if you're feeling down or sick or depressed or um, hopeless or negative or angry and shaming and blaming, whatever it is, those lower frequencies, it's okay. It's okay to do this because it's the process of awakening and it's the process of get furthering along in your ascension process. So this is what helps me. I want to go over 3 things here. The easiest way, the fastest way, and the hardest way to work through this, to be with this, to yeah, just to see what's next. And that's one of the things I do ask is what's next? What's going on? You know, another thing I did this morning, because I'm kind of in one of those phases right now of like, what's going on? Last week, I got into all this doing mode and I went into all this stuff that I was going to create. But a few weeks ago, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to surrender. I'm just going to flow and I'm just going to see what happens. And that felt really good to just trust and surrender. But as soon as like the next piece comes, I'm like, oh, I got to create. Oh, I got to get into entrepreneurial role. Oh, I've got to do this, this, and this. And my ego just like took over. And then I got a stomach ache and I got sick for a week. So it's interesting how our energetics do that. So now I'm in this place of like, going back, expanding my consciousness back out and saying, okay, what are we working on today? Just because we have a flow of something one day doesn't mean we have to go into egoic doing mode and, oh, now we have to just set this all up. I mean, it may, if there's flow there, but if it starts like stopping your breathing and you start getting sick, most likely it's not in alignment with your source self and that flow of that. Is this making sense? Yeah, let me know if it's making sense. So today what happened, I sat still for a very long time, just sitting and not even closing my eyes and not even doing the toning that I do. I just was sitting and I asked the question, what next? And then I was guided to ask the question, if my future ascended self has any information or a teacher or something that it wants to say to me, can you make it known? And so I looked at my bookshelf and I grabbed the book that I studied a few years ago. It's called The Study of the Bhagavad Gita with Sat Shri. And I opened up to chapter 5 and it is exactly what I needed, what I wanted to hear, what I needed for this next piece that I'm walking into today. So that was really powerful. So that's not part of the 3 things, but you may want to incorporate that question. What has my future ascended self put in place for me to make this a little bit more easeful? And I have to say, that was really profound to read that chapter and just calm down and be okay with where I am today and just really trust and surrender. Now, our ego, just really gets activated with 3D living, like with, money and finances and house and like all the technicality of 3D living. The ego really gets wrapped up in that. And I can just get swept away from that. And that's what happened last week. And then I got sick. And as I reflect back on the past few years, because I feel like my awakening journey has turned into my ascension journey now, and it's really ramped up, like the ego death, the karmic release, and whoo, it can be intense. But so what was I talking about? So yeah, my space of being now is to really let go, trust, and surrender, and not so much do for outcomes, but to really come into a flow from my source divinity and not compromise that for anything. And that's what I'm learning to do these days, is to flow from source divinity, even if it doesn't make sense to my ego. Even if my ego's like, the bill is due, mortgage is due. And, I just have to put that ego nature to rest and trust and surrender that it's all working out. It's all working out. And I'm pretty amazed at myself this past year, especially with the pandemic and losing jobs and all this stuff. And changing businesses, and uh, that everything really has worked out. And things have really gone to the wire sometimes financially or with a relationship. And then all of a sudden it just smooths out. It all works out. So I have learned to just back off and not get so wrapped up and hooked in. Yay. So it's okay to not be okay. It's all part of the process. It's all part of expanding consciousness. It's all part of um, your awakening journey and broader perspectives. And it's all part of embodying ascension, high frequency ascension energies. You're going to have days where you just don't feel good mentally or physically. And you're going to have days where you feel spiritually alone. And that's that ego again. You're never alone. You're never disconnected. You are. You are. You just are divinity and source nature. It's always there. That's what you are. That's what's in this kind of vehicle that we're in, this body. So it's okay to have these days. Now, here we go into the 3 ways. So I got it in my notes here. The easiest way I have found to work through a phase like this, because it comes in phases. It's like you don't get over the hump and then it never comes back. That's been my experience, is that it just comes in phases, or the ego will just get a little like activated, and it'll start trying to run the show, and it'll, you know, your source divinity self will pull you back from it. And it's an interesting journey. So it's a phase. So this is how here's some ideas how to pull yourself through it. The easiest way is to spiral out of it is to do nothing. And what I mean by do nothing is just really do nothing and allow it. And so there is a tendency to want to attach. I'm really, really good at this. There's a tendency to want to to um, attach this phase or your depression or your anger to something, to a story, to that happened in your past, to a past trigger, to a past karmic action. And I would say, let all that go and do nothing. Be in total allowance of the phase. Okay. Try to get your mind to calm down and just allow and be in it and with it. Yeah. And so from there, once the mind calms down, the ego's kind of pushed down a bit. You're like, calm down, boy, calm down. Then your spirit nature just starts expanding, and you just be with what is today. And sometimes that helps you spiral back up. It helps get your cork up to higher frequency feelings. It helps you get into that surrender and content ecstasy, back to that authentic nature that you are. So that's the easiest way. Do nothing. And when I say easy, it just means that it's not like easy to totally do nothing, but it means that you don't have to be reaching for books or practices or anything like that. You just have to chill your mind and ego out, which can be hard, but basically you're just being super present. And what really helps me with that is the Reiki ideals. And what the Reiki ideal says is just for today. Just for today, I will not be attached to my emotions. Just for today, I will be kind and grateful. Just for today, I will flow with source energy and be super present just for today. And so the key part to that is just for today. And that helps you stay super present. So that's the easiest way, meaning like there's no practices or rituals or anything like that involved. The fastest way through this is using the emotional guidance scale. So it's a list of 22 emotions and feelings. This being content, ecstasy, down here being fear and disempowerment. And wherever you are on the scale, you use your mind and your feelings and your emotions to jump up to each incremental shift in vibrational emotional feeling. And you use statements. And I have a video about how to use that. So that's in in the Conscious Life Hacks, I believe, playlist. So that is a fast way to deal with your feelings and your emotions and really start to learn how to jump up in vibration. Okay. Now, it depends on where you are. So if you are resonating right now with the law of attraction, then this fastest way is going to feel really good to you, because in the law of attraction, they talk about contrast, which is, disempowerment, feeling depressed, the lower frequencies, a contrast to your ecstatic self, right? That's a contrast between here and here. And that contrast, they say, helps you to see what you really want. So you're a little outcome driven, okay? So when you're in the phase of working with law of attraction, there's a little bit more of an outcome perspective that you're working with. And so you have the higher frequencies that you're wanting to reach. And this contrast is saying, this doesn't feel good. I want to get back to source energy. And then you work up the scale to it. Now, the first one, just being super present, there's no outcome. You are just present with what is right here, right now, letting go, allowing what is, and there's no outcome in sight that you're reaching for. You're just being. Okay, so it's two different perspectives. It depends where you are and what feels lightest to use. So there's that. Now, the hardest way to get through this is, which I admittedly do a lot, is to perseverate on everything that's happening and how bad I feel and attach stories and energies to what I'm feeling. So, for example, like I had a stomach ache and I start looking up on Google what it could be. Could it be parasites? Could it be a stomach bug? Could it be the flu? Could it be anxiety? Could it be an ulcer? Could it be, most likely it's just this ascension process and releasing. So everything has a vibrational root. And so we try to name it, we try to give it a story, we try to give it a definition, we try to put a box around it. That will not only be the hardest way through, but also the longest way through. Take it from me. I have done all three of these techniques, and really giving it a name and perseverating and thinking too much about it and giving it a story and giving it a past or giving it a future definitely is the hardest and longest way through this phase of feeling not okay, feeling yucky, feeling depressed, feeling disempowered, feeling lost. Okay. So those are the three things. All right. So we've got the easiest way, maybe not easy in theory, but at least you're not using a lot of techniques. It's just presence. Number two, the fastest way, if you're really outcome driven and can feel the contrast of things, and you're working with the law of attraction, that would be the emotional guidance system. And three, the longest, hardest way is to define it, look it up, put it in a box, give it a story, give it a past, or give it a future. So your choice. All of them have something to give. All right, even the third one, the hardest and longest one, it gives you information. For so many years, I did this bottom one. I've been a wellness practitioner. I'm trained in wellness and nutrition, and all that is like, put it in a box, give it a definition, right? Different types of stress and all that kind of thing. So, but it has led me to expanding my perception and my awakening journey and ascension journey. So it's all good, whichever one you're doing. And wherever you are in your journey and the phase you're in. So all is well. So it is okay to not be okay. And when we're in that whole thing around positive vibes only and choose happiness, it doesn't mean that you don't have a bad day or a bad week or even a bad month. You're in the process. You use that as a positive journey. You use that as a journey of joy. Enjoy the process. How about that? So if we could go through this process without complaining and blaming, let's see what that can create. All right, beautiful people. I'd love to know if this was helpful. Let me know in the comments. And if you could use some support, if you've spiraled down and you kind of feel stuck there, which can really happen. We can get stuck sometimes. I know I have. If you would like some support, I do mentorship, and the first one's on me. First 30 minutes is a discovery call to see if you get some support, see if you like the way I support you, and if you do, then there's other ways to work together through voice or mentoring with just conscious life hacks like this. All right, beautiful people. Thanks for being here. And I hope you have a beautiful day, whatever that looks like for you. Namaste.